shall be dissecting. That's talking about the analyst this morning on the phone line 0809 444 0981. It's very important to get those in this morning on 0809 444 0981. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa, and I make welcome this morning AB Bozimo. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone in the studio, and good morning to all of the wonderful listeners.
And also, I make welcome this morning Mr. C. Good morning to you. Good morning. And so with that said, I would like AB to help us guide us into our first story this morning, and it's coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. And it's come with a headline, Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives the U.S. for AFDB World Food Prize event. That's what we get from this angle. And so it seemed like the Vice President is having a very busy time out, just left China and then straight to the US. This is food matters. Will this add to the quantum of food in our basket after he returns?
Well, recently on World Food Day, Nigerians cried out to the president, saying there's hunger in the land. And as you said earlier on this morning, it is reported that somebody committed suicide over his inability to feed his family. So there is trouble across the land. However, we thank God for a safe journey for the Vice President arriving at the AFDB's World Food Prize event. It's a dialogue called the Norman Borlaug Dialogue, where they discuss food security. Now, Nigeria has been steadily falling in the World Food Security Ranking. Right now, we are ranked as serious, which is the middle on a 5-item scale. And he's supposed to go there and discuss, with manufacturers, investors, and other government officials for that famous thing called foreign direct investment. But I always say you can only attract and sustain foreign direct investment when you have done what is necessary in your country to make those potential investors feel comfortable, feel confident, feel secure that the investment will yield. Make no doubt about it, Nigeria has all the fundamentals. The land is there, very arable. The people are there to do the work, whether it's manual or even mechanized. The weather is very cooperative. Everything on paper should make Nigeria a bastion of agriculture, except managerial capacity. And you add that to poor road networks, poor storage facilities, and you have a combination of disastrous indices. So it's good that Nigeria, when you're a patient, the best place to get treatment is a hospital. Nigeria, being a patient in terms of food insecurity, it's good that we go to a place where food insecurity is the central topic. Maybe we can be studied as a case study in how not to do it. And at that point, perhaps we will now have solutions that will help the country advance in terms. Let me tell you, the knowledge, the wherewithal, the expertise all exists. It is the managerial capacity to put it all together, to weave a seamless and pleasant tapestry in the best interest of Nigeria and Nigerians. That is the missing ingredient. So I'm hoping that this dialogue may spur some ideas. It's just not about gaining frequent flyer air miles across the continent. It's about what will the ultimate end result be in terms of managing our agricultural sector. That remains to be seen.
I was wondering how your weekend went, but from the way your first presentation breaking down this headline looked like, it tells me definitely it was everything excellent. Thank you so much for having us break it down. Hopefully, if they might even use Nigeria as a pilot case, even not even as a case study now, when they roll out the tractors for agriculture, that in itself, wouldn't it help?
Anything would help as long as you are able to secure the people doing the work. You see, we have vast insecurity in different parts of the country. So that is also, ironically, that security is directly tied to food insecurity. There are different insecurities, all of which contribute to less than stellar results in terms of agriculture. But when we take them together, and we must be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We can't handle one, then the other. All of them must be tackled together. And the capacity exists in spades across Nigeria. We have great people inside and outside the country, especially inside, who can make these things happen for good.
So from the Punch newspaper, we drift now to the Vanguard newspaper, and I see Mr. C would lead us through this headline, but the headline here is the federal government begins registration of veterans, widows, orphans of fallen heroes for palliative. And this is, if you look at it, Mr. C, it is also not deviating or not far away from food issue again and survival, as AB's headline from the Punch has stated. But to make this sound, bring it home to us and link it to that famous line in the national anthem, the labors of our heroes past. If this is done, do you see them resting peacefully to say, yes, I pay the price for a country that cares for people I left behind?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mas. So, as we all know already, the current administration has announced that giving the sum of 25,000 as a form of palliative to 15 million Nigerian households or individuals over the course of the next 3 months. Now, what is interesting is that it would appear that for the very first time, having been able to confirm this, that veterans, widows, and orphans of fallen heroes are being included for the first time in any social safety nets, which is really, really tragic. And kudos to the current administration for taking up what appears to be the first initiative ever in this line. Now, our heroes are people who are giving their lives their all towards making Nigeria better. And their efforts will not be in vain, despite the best efforts of the political elite in this country over the past 50 years. That having been said, we are all witnesses to the fact that our fallen heroes, when they leave service, they fall onto very hard times, and it would appear that governments at all levels are seemingly not interested. And even when they should get their benefits, it takes forever. We are inundated with reports that strongly suggest or show that people actually collapse and even die whilst waiting for their benefits. And this is for the ones who are still alive. Now, juxtapose that and transfer it to those who have passed on, and then their widows and their orphans are really struggling to make any sense of out of life. And then they're wondering why Nigeria is the outlier, because they see how other countries treat their fallen heroes, treat their veterans. Now, it is hoped that this process will be clear, it will be open, it will be transparent, and that bribes will not be demanded to put them onto that list, and that the list will be properly done. Now, beyond all of this should be the start, and it shouldn't be a one-off, on how to properly look after these people so that it doesn't make it more difficult or more stressful for succeeding generations of Nigerians to replace these fallen heroes. Now, one of the veterans who was interviewed said he thanked the government for the initiative, but said that the real issue lay in fixing the economy. And I agree and align with that position correctly. There's only so much you can do in terms of cash handouts, and the rate of inflation today is really tragic. So even, let's put it this way, what 25,000 naira about 2 weeks ago, you can buy now with 35,000 naira. So it's really, really tragic. And I want to believe that with this big list of cabinet members and the determination of this current administration, we will start to see efforts to get Nigeria back on a productive slant and making sure that our gross domestic product starts to increase in the
Thank you very much, Mr. C. So let's drift on now. AB once, okay, that gets you sprinkle something a bit on it.
There was something in that story at the end where somebody, while thanking the government for the thought and the initiative, stated that it is not enough to keep giving cash because, like Mr. C has said, that is not sustainable. Rather than giving people fish, teach them to fish, number one. Two, provide the environment with a better economy in which they can fish. So this almost charitable giving, while perhaps well-intentioned, is simply basal and the least intelligent way to find our way out of the current problem, which was started by what I consider to be rash announcements at the very beginning of this administration.
Just because you said this, so you talked about fish, then again, conversely put, one would ask, are the people themselves willing to fish or learning or willing to learn how to fish?
110%. Nigerians, if you notice, by the evidence, anywhere except in Nigeria, Nigerians sell. So it is nothing wrong with the Nigerian personality or mentality. It is about the environment that does not prioritize the people, but rather, I don't know whether you saw that video about the brand new cars that are expected to be given to people at 57.6 billion naira for the sum total. I saw a video where that car was being towed inside and outside. It is preposterous and talks about a lack of priorities.
I understand it's somewhere in the headlines we'll be picking up this morning.
I
So
know.
let's keep our powder dry till then. Let's get on to Vanguard waiting for you. Falana, the legal luminary, tasked National Assembly on Nigeria's out-of-school children. Is this one of so many battles the legal icon is just simply getting his hands into?
You know, we've heard this story. Apparently, right now, it's about 20 million, give or take another 10 million, perhaps. And these are children who, on a good day, should be in school. As you're sitting there in the studio, Omatseye, 20 million people should be on their way to school, but are not. They're in the streets, they're joining street gangs, they are in ill health, their parents are desperate. So this is a problem that is a time bomb. It's already exploding, but it could be even worse very soon. And we're hearing that state governments are not contributing to the Universal Basic Education Fund. First of all, understand something. Education, at its most fundamental, is a very local construct, meaning you can point fingers at the federal government for one or two things, but at the local government, i.e., in your neighborhood, is where your schooling should start. If you don't have the fundamentals, you cannot even build upon that from nursery to primary to secondary to education to university or tertiary education. And when these assorted governors and local government officials leave the presidency out of it, are refusing to prioritize education in their states, then they are 100% to blame. Yes, the FG in times past has actually tried to help, tried to assist, but the state and local government officials who get all sorts of money each month, running into the billions of naira, have chosen not to prioritize education. And so you have these children who are actually being left hopeless because as a child, they may not yet know what is coming for them. You have adults who are going around in air-conditioned vehicles with all sorts of allowances for wardrobe, babariga, newspapers that they barely can read, and all that, who are choosing to leave the children to their fate. You know, it is so unfortunate in these cases for those children to be born into a country that doesn't show any love for them. And so Falana is saying this has to stop. I don't know what can be done from a legal perspective to make sure that there is a consequence. When children in your state are not being educated, there should be something deducted from your, in my view, deducted from your monthly subvention. Maybe that can spur them on to try and be better for these children. You will die and leave them. What will you leave them?
All right, thanks so much for the submission. It's time for us to quickly let this traffic flow by. But when we come back, we're still getting in your messages on Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. Get them to 0809-444-0981. WhatsApp messages only.
Your number one radio station. Looking for a reliable way to grow your money? Let me tell you about ARM. ARM is one of the largest non-bank financial institutions with over 29 years of expertise in money management and wealth creation. That's almost 3 decades. ARM is all about ensuring your financial goals are met with ease, no matter who you are. Now, whether it's growing your money in safe, well-managed investments for important goals like school fees, personal development, vacations, rent, buying a property, or preparing for the future, ARM has got you covered. We all know there are a lot of apps out there promising to grow your money, but ARM has everything you need to go from where you are to where you need to be. Start your wealth creation journey today by downloading the ARM One app from the Google Play Store or iOS Store. There are great options for everyone. You even start with as low as 1,000 Naira, just 1,000 Naira. For more information, visit arm.com.ng or call 01-271-5002. That's 01-271-5002. ARM, let's face tomorrow together. What up, y'all? This is Fundy, and you are listening to Smooth Breakfast.
We're smooth 98.1 FM. It's gone exactly 12 minutes before we hit the termination point. It's still freshly pressed, and we're picking up the headlines and serving them as fresh and hot as they can be for you this morning while you send in your reactions to the headlines this morning on 0809 444 0981. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. AB Bozimo is still with me here, and so as Mr. C. And so, Mr. C, would like you to help us get into this next story where it's from the Daily Trust newspaper, and President Tinubu is seeking South Korea's investment in national transportation system. Well, I understand this is a fallout from the meeting from on the sideline during the summit in India. So how often do we see this statement just moving beyond those sidelines and then getting to talk about it once again, and at a time when we're looking at the compressed natural gas for transportation and other issues?
Okay, thank you. So, as Omatseye rightly said, there was an initial meeting between the current president and the president of South Korea on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi. Now, as a follow-up to that meeting, the president of South Korea sent a special envoy to Nigeria, and he was sent to explore and discuss areas in which there could be further expansion of South Korean investment in Nigeria and to further enhance the trade ties across key sectors of Nigeria's economy. That is what the South Koreans want. Now, for our listeners out there who are then wondering, what exactly does Nigeria want out of all of this? Nigeria is seeking to understudy, and replicate South Korea's national transport system. Now, for our listeners who are conversant with transportation trends outside the continent, two of the countries with arguably some of the best transportation models and systems in the world would be South Korea and even, I dare say, China. And then we then throw Japan into the mix. So we're actually learning from leaders in this field. And we must remember that South Korea has moved away from diesel-powered locomotives. Everything is powered by electricity. And we need to get the knowledge they can give us. Remember that Lagos State has just started its metro line, and it just switched over to electricity not too long ago. Now, the challenge before this administration is we now have a country we can identify that is prepared to invest in the economy. Prior to now, we've been inundated with discussions, hopes, and aspirations. Now, there's something we can actually hold on to. What do we need to do from our end to actualize this interest? We need to look at our regulatory landscape. We need to look at the issue of multiple taxation by various levels of government, from national to subnational, and I dare say even to local governments. We need to see how we can give intending South Korean investors and existing South Korean investors in Nigerian economy tax breaks. We need to be able to ensure that the infrastructure they need to properly function is there. We also need to be able to guarantee security. Once we can put all these things in place, this will be a considerable source of foreign direct investment in the Nigerian economy. And you know the thing, what they say, it takes one person to set the ball rolling. When other countries see that, okay, South Korea has put its mouth It's put its money where its mouth is and has put in money, and they're actually making money. Other countries will come forth. Finally, I forgot to add this. We need to sort out this foreign exchange conundrum. You cannot have a marked difference between the official forex rate and what obtains on the parallel market. Right now, the gap is almost 500 naira, which is truly ridiculous. Two, we need to sort out this issue of infiltration of foreign currency that needs to leave the country. If you do not sort it out, despite your best intentions, they're not going to come in because no foreign investor wants its money or capital trapped in another country.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. So I head now to the Nation newspaper that's been served to AB Bozimo this morning. Is still talking about money issues, this and how it will come in for the country. So the MTEF, that's the Monetary and Fiscal Expenditure Framework, MTEF, federal government projects 3 years economic growth. That's according to the Nation newspaper. Walk us through the meat of this conversation.
Yes, this is one of those numbers-rich stories that, you really need to pick up and read yourself, because there's no point me reciting. There are key things. There's the oil benchmark price, oil production, exchange rate, and inflation rate. I'll say first, I like the conservative approach to the oil benchmark. They're saying hopefully we're going to get revenue on $79 per barrel, $73.69. Right now, maybe due to some of the geopolitical goings on, the oil price is 90 something, $91. So I don't know how that will affect things like fuel price and all that, but let's keep that aside. Where I'm a bit more concerned is when, just like Mr. C said just now, some unrealistic things. You're talking about a dollar rate of $600 and $700, when even at our own MTF, right, or one of those parallel markets that we set up, it's 883. So you look at that, then you say inflation at 21, when we just heard that inflation is 27. So is it that, are these just wishful thinking parameters, or are they actually trying to work with realities? Yes, you must be optimistic and you can work towards bending the arc of the economy your way. But I don't know whether that kind of vast differential is realistic in the medium to long term. It's a plan. And the thing about plans is that you can set them up and then begin to, benchmark them against reality. It's ambitious at best. Some parts of it are conservative, like what we hope to earn from oil. That's okay. But I am concerned about some areas that actually look unrealistic, speaking right now. What that could be in 6 months, what that could be in a year could be, more realistic. But from where I sit, this doesn't currently look like a realistic plan. It just looks very optimistic. And if you don't do some of the fundamentals we've talked about, you will not be able to achieve it. If people are not going to school, if there's no power to drive the economy, you will not be able to generate these economic numbers. That's my concern.
Thank you very much, AB. As we go on to pick up messages waiting for us now, responding to the headline so far, Osagie from Ojodu sent in this one saying, the president and vice president keep them backing on fruitless journeys on the bill of the taxpayers. The former President Buhari spent a better portion of his tenure in the air. How did it rub off on the nation? I beg Joe. Osagie from Ojodu sent in that one. And then comes in Emeka from Ikeja. As long as all the refineries are not functioning, it's criminal and deceitful pushing palliatives to few selected few. It is clownish dancing around palliatives when we don't produce. Emeka from Ikeja. And then comes in Tobias from Fashtak. Tobias' message says Nigerian leaders are traveling all over the world to invite external investors, while the international business located at some parts of Lagos State is under lock and key by government agencies for unknown reasons, like example, international trade fair, business, both internationally and local, are under key. Who's deceiving who? That's what Tobias sent in a while ago. And then comes in Adewumi Banu, says from Apapa, Nigeria has no problem with being an hungry a hungry nation. Nigeria can feed the entire countries in Africa and beyond with its arable land cut across entire geopolitical zone of the country. But it's unfortunate that we have mediocres and government officials who paid lip service to agricultural business hub in Nigeria. The problem is just three infrastructures. Infrastructures, food security, and sustainable agricultural investment, continuous research from the local government to federal level. And he says our problems will be solved. Thank you so much, Adewumi. And next comes in Bob from Surulere. Now, wow, indigenous farmers are running away because of insecurity, yet VP is traveling to secure foreign direct investment for who? From who? Dami sent in this one. He says, why does this, okay, goes on, he says, like Buhari and his lazy Nigerian youth troop. Moving on, it's important to note that the food basket of Nigeria in the northern, central, and east are facing persistent crises and farmers being attacked by pastoral herdsmen and bandits. Our solution aren't in any foreign trips. The fire burning us is in our backyard. Speaking about heroes past, Rashidi Yakini would have been 60 today. Well, thank you so much. I got this one more from, who sent in this one? Gilbert Musa from Festa. On agriculture, let's us cast our minds back to May 1976, when Obasanjo launched Operation Feed the Nation to address the declining food production in Nigeria. The noble scheme was a master plan to increase food production across Nigeria and reduce food imports. Did we adhere to that scheme till date? Ask me and I'll ask you. But then it's interesting to know that former President Obasanjo would be at that forum today, holding in the US for food security, AFDB. So our final paper, Mr. C, just take us down to that one that relates to the new vehicle acquisition now for our esteemed lawmakers. It said stop lawmakers from receiving 57.6 billion naira SUV. Sarah tells quote, if you can do this in a minute.
Okay, thank you. Very quickly, Sarah has approached the federal government seeking interim and interlocutory injunctions restraining the House of Reps from taking possession of the monthly vehicle order. Now, my concern is this. They have already placed the monthly vehicle already paid for them. Now, if they pay for them, what the sellers have to do is to deliver the goods. But it just goes to show the wide disconnect between our so-called representatives across all the political platforms and the people themselves. In a time such as this, where the government is telling us we have to make sacrifices, we have to continue to make sacrifices, we have to continue to make sacrifices, and we must all suffer before it gets better. We then see them both from executive to legislative arms enjoying the best of life, because the truth of the matter is they don't need those cars to function effectively. And when you contrast that with, I think, an East African country, I think it's either Kenya, Tanzania, or no, I think it's Zambia actually. They raised the same point, and the president told them, look, gentlemen, ladies, if you want cars, can you use your private cars? So it's really disappointing that our elected representatives have turned a cold ear, a deaf ear to the yearnings of the people. And maybe it's time the people start to fully explore the recall process.
All right, it's on that note we must wrap up this morning. I want to say thank you so much to AB Bozimo, even though I know you've got something to throw into that conversation, but we're out of time this morning. Thank you so much for your time, AB Bozimo.
Have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you all so much.
And I want to say thank you to Mr. C for your time also.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to say thank you to everyone who sent in a message. I see all your messages. Uju, Veronica Uju, Gary Newton, Idima Puza, Gilbert Dami. I see all of you. Thank you. Let's do it again tomorrow. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa.